May we remind you that for the convenience of those patrons who prefer not to smoke, seating areas on the right-hand side of this auditorium have been designated as no smoking areas. Your cooperation is appreciated.
Andrew Westman, I wanted to interview you because I'm impressed with your short film Pinned. And those of you who haven't seen it yet, you can click on the Your Content tab on my website, then Your Short Horror Films, and watch me introduce Pinned. Now, Andrew, are you ready for my questions?
Hello, Mr. Bleeding Critic. I am ready for your questions.
Is there a horror film you've seen that you would never sit through again because it tattooed your soul?
Probably Leprechaun 3, the one where the leprechaun goes to Las Vegas. That has tattooed my soul in more ways than is polite to share.
Fair enough. How and when did your respect for the horror genre start?
I've been obsessed with movies my whole life. I watched tons of junky horror movies as a kid, like Event Horizon or Leprechaun. But I also liked more sophisticated titles like The Shining, like Jacob's Ladder or Rosemary's Baby. One of my favorites is the Philip Kaufman remake of The Invasion of the Body Snatchers. The ending where Donald Sutherland is possessed and points to the camera and shrieks is absolutely terrifying to me. And it's such a simple scene, only using mise-en-scène and no special effects or anything, it's able to have so much power. And really, these are my favorite kinds of films, the ones that can stir the most profound reactions in the audience. And basically, the point of horror movies is to screw with the audience as much as possible, because that's just fun. It's fun for the audience. My favorite kinds of horror films, and really films in general, have implications beyond the scope of the film. I liked how in The Ring you felt that you, the audience, would now be doomed because you just watched the cursed videotape at the very end of the film. So even after you leave the theater, you wonder for the next week if you're going to meet your doom. It transforms how you look at the world. I loved 28 Days Later because that film managed to make me feel uneasy for its entire duration. I was expecting zombies that were slow and easy to escape, but instead they threw a new threat at us: fast, sprinting zombies. I couldn't figure out how to get away from them, and I was scared with the characters. It was immersive, and I was never ahead of the story. So to me, that was incredible. That was amazing.
Wonderful answer. You mentioned some inspiring horror films there. I think the favourite out of all of them has to be, for me, Event Horizon. Now, Andrew, your short horror film Pinned is included in Fun Size Horrors Volume 2. Talk to me about how you got involved with Fun Size Horror.
I met Joe Wicker, the writer and co-producer of Pinned, on the set of Unfriended, a feature film that I edited last year. Joe witnessed me leading the actors through a series of pickups, and he thought that I had a knack for directing. So he asked me if I wanted to direct this short film that he had written. The script was amazing, and I could see how to apply a lot of the lessons I learned while editing Unfriended to Joe's script. So I jumped aboard, and we had a little interview / meeting with the producers of Fun Size, and then just like that, I was directing a Fun Size horror film.
Inconsiderate behaviour in cinemas like snacking, texting, talking. Andrew, do you suffer from cinema rage?
Well, my soon-to-be wife definitely has cinema rage. if she catches me pulling out my phone during a movie, it is usually met with a smack to the ribcage. So I don't do such rude things anymore.
I'm pleased to hear that your future wife taught you a lesson about being rude in a cinema. During the film story creative process, sometimes the best suggestions can come from people not involved in the industry. Have you ever given a scenario to someone and their unexpected suggestion energized you to take your story onto another level?
Yeah, I mean, my fiance Allison gives incredible film advice, and she's a dentist. She actually helped me come up with the ending of Pinned when she had the insight that the most terrifying narrative outcome would be that the protagonist is trapped inside this terrible alternate dimension. And so that allowed us to actually reconstruct the entire ending from scratch. So yeah, thank you, Allison.
That's good to hear. Make sure your future wife has a look at my perfect teeth. Now, Andrew, are you disheartened by the current film trailer trend to give away the bleeding plot?
Yeah, definitely. For this reason, I tend to not watch trailers. Definitely. Yeah, I hate being spoiled, especially in comedies. They give away the best jokes.
I avoid film trailers as well. However, I don't do funny. Andrew, I like the creative film talent in Australia, and the same goes for some Korean and Japanese horror films. Is there any foreign film that you've watched that you'd recommend? Something that's not on the usual radar?
This one is maybe not too obscure, I don't know, but I'll mention it anyway. The Spanish film Rec, R-E-C, or Record, is absolutely amazing. There are four of them, and there are American remakes of them as well, but the original Spanish language film is one of my favorites, and most people I know haven't seen it yet, but I highly recommend it.
Oh, of course, the first one was the best one. Great choice. Your short horror film Pinned, without giving anything away, how did the idea come to you?
Credit goes to Joe Wicker for coming up with the concept of a monster existing in Google Street View. He was inspired by the fact that Google blurs anyone's face who is caught on the Google Street View camera. The image, although ever present, is incredibly creepy. I helped Joe flesh out the protagonist, flesh out the world and the action, but he came up with the concept of the Street View camera.
Is there anything horrific you're working on that you'd like to mention?
Yeah, I just finished editing a thriller with some elements of horror. It's by director Marcus Dunstan of Saw and The Collector fame. My feature directorial debut may be imminent and may very well be a horror film, but I unfortunately can't say much about that right now.
Oh, absolutely, I understand, and I wish you all the best of luck with that. Andrew, now here's your chance to plug what you do, so go for it.
I just like making movies, all kinds of movies. There's nothing else I would rather do. It's hard. It's really, really hard to make a movie, but I'm fortunate that people such as yourself have appreciated the work that I've done so far. And it's really this appreciation that has allowed me to continue working professionally as a filmmaker. I'll keep working at it until I'm dead. And if I can, I'll keep making movies after I'm dead too. That's how much I love it.
Well done. Now, Andrew, have you got any questions that you'd like to ask me?
Yes. Mr. Bleeding Critic, do you have a favorite musical?
No, I don't have a favourite musical. However, if I had to choose, it would be Rent, because it's about death.
Thank you, Bleeding Critic. Thank you for featuring Pinned on your site, and thank you for all of your support for the horror film community. I really appreciate it. We all do. Thank you so much.